All right, welcome to this session where we're going to be discussing the corporate partnerships framework. All right, I shared a document with some of you in the Nonprofit Connections group, and this video is actually just an overview or explaining that framework document a little bit more details because it is the foundation of everything else. Now, if you're watching this video, that means you run a nonprofit and you're exploring or you're seriously looking at how you can generate unrestricted funding for your nonprofit. And when I say unrestricted funding, I'm talking about funding that is not grant-based, and therefore the money is not restricted to a particular activity. As nonprofit leaders, sometimes you want to spend money on certain things and you are restricted because those things are not covered by the grant agreement. All right. I have a client here in Liberia who had about $50,000 in grant money just when COVID came on and the world was locked down. Now, this money was sitting in the bank account and the bank was charging up their fees, but the activity that the money was intended for could not be carried out during lockdown. And the client reached out to the donor and said, hey, can I divert this money for different purpose? And they said, no, it's against their policy. So eventually a good bit of that money went to bank fees rather than going to making an impact simply because of some bureaucratic or some policy. I'm not going to make it sound negative. It's the donor's policy, right? Whatever the reasons behind their policies, we're not going to go there. But my point is, it's important for nonprofit organizations to have some flexibility. And the way you have financial flexibility is by generating funds outside of grants. All right, there's so many ways you can generate funds. We talk about corporate partnerships. We talk about business enterprises. Investments. In this digital age, you could do an online businesses, multiple online businesses for that matter. There's e-commerce, there's affiliate marketing, there's publishing, there is just so much that I can't even think of right now. All right, and some of these can be leveraged within the corporate partnerships, and I can talk about that more. But for instance, you could partner with an organization that sells a particular product, and you could strike an affiliate marketing deal with them. For each of these products we sell for you, we get 20%. Or you could become a consultant, a marketing agency where you implement the marketing activities, especially digital marketing activities. All right. So the options are numerous. All right. Now you may be wondering who is this guy talking about corporate partnerships, right? I'm not one to really talk too much about myself. I will say that over the last 11 years, I've supported a number of nonprofit organizations. I've worked a lot in international development. My clients have generated considerable amounts in funding, some through grants and a lot through, projects or programs like these, corporate partnerships, special projects, and those kinds, consulting activities and the likes, enterprise activities as well. And I think it's best to focus on what you can generate, and then you decide whether it makes sense or not. All right, I could go on and share stories upon stories about, this person made this and how this person did this and how this person did that. But it doesn't excite me. What excites me is sharing the knowledge with you and hopefully having a chance to work with you personally to implement that, because that's what I'm really about. Okay, so let's now go into the framework document, and hopefully I get this tech thing to work. Right, so we're going to go into the framework document here shortly. This is it, and share. Okay, so with this particular framework, I've had clients generate between $250,000 and $1 million. Okay, so it works, but it worked for them. Can I guarantee absolutely that's going to work for you? I don't know you. I don't know the amount of work ethic you're going to put in. I don't know how committed you are. I don't know the details about your organization yet and the impact you're making. I don't know who you're targeting. So can I guarantee that you will make 250K or up to $1 million from this? No, I'm not going to do that. And anybody who says they can is outright lying and bullshitting. What I can say though is if you go through it and see if it makes sense for you. If it makes sense for you, then let's talk about how you can implement it, and let me get to know a little bit more about your nonprofit, and then we can figure out what is a realistic target to go for. It may be less than 250, it may be more than $1 million, but ultimately it is really you and your nonprofit that decides what's possible for you. Now, why corporate partnerships? What is it really? Well, it's a nonprofit teaming up with a business entity with the purpose of making a difference. Now, you can do this teaming up in different ways, but one of the things that a lot of people will ask is, what's in it for the businesses? What's in it for these organizations? Well, when corporations partner with nonprofits or they support nonprofits, they want something back. It could be the one, their name out there, the one, brand recognition, they want to be recognized as being committed to the environment or committed to the community. They want more market share, because sometimes if it's done right, the corporations can leverage these partnerships, and nonprofits too can leverage these partnerships to sell more of a product for corporations. And when you do that, you are creating that opportunity for more sales for that organization, and you get to benefit from that if it's part of your agreement. All right. So first thing is to identify potential partners. My suggestion is target 15 initially. Identify 15 potential partners, and then you figure out, how to reach out to them. There's so many ways you can go about this, right? Now, if you're in the US, for example, you could target the same type of business, but in different markets. So let's say you want to partner with plumbing or roofing companies. You could target roofing companies in the different markets, in St. Paul, Minnesota, and in, Dayton, Ohio, or in La Jolla, California. You could do that, or you could keep your potential partners local to your organization, but from different industries. Either way, I found to work. All right. Okay. And ideally, if possible, you want to partner with organizations that have some similarity with what you're doing. The example I gave you, if you're an animal rescue organization, you can partner with pet stores, you can partner with pet food manufacturers, you can partner with vets, those kinds of businesses are there. You can also partner with small, medium business owners in completely different industries, but who are pet lovers. And there are ways to find these people. All right. 2 areas that you can find data are Data Axle USA. There's the link you're seeing now, and Sicko.com. Okay. So once you find these companies, I like to say, find companies that are doing over $1 million in revenue, simply because you want them to be able to come up with higher donations. Smaller companies will donate 500, 1,000, maybe 2,000, up to 5,000, but you need a little bit more engagements to get to 250K. If you want companies that will donate 25, 30, 40, $50,000, then you want to go for higher earning companies, just because they have more cash. Okay. Now, where else can you find companies to potentially partner with? bcorporation.net. B Corp is a movement of businesses that said they want to make the environment better. Similarly, you've got the UN Global Compact, unglobalcompact.org, and you have Singularity University. These are all different places where you can find businesses and business owners who are committed to making the world better. You can also check out news stories on social media of companies who seem to be involved in environmental issues. All right. So once you've done this, once you've identified your potential partners or the companies you want to go after, then we now begin the next step. And I know I said 15 because, you know, it's easier to work with, but hey, if you can find 100, we'll find 100, and, you know, not everybody's going to pan out maybe. So your target is to have 15 partners. So let me clarify that. Your target is 15 partners. If you've got 15 partners, each giving you $25,000, you're way above 250,000. All right. And if you got each of them giving you $10,000 a year, that's $150,000. That's still not bad. All right. So we want to go for up at least 15 partners. And to do that, I'd say, hey, let's find 100 potential companies. And by the time we've reached out to them and everything, some will say no, some will say yes, some will say we're not ready yet. By the time we're at that, you know, we're done with all 100, we would have had at least 15 of them coming on board. All right. As far as time frame, I give this a year for implementation. All right. Within 90 days, you'll definitely have contacted everybody. But as far as getting all your partners, you could have all your 15 partners within 90 days. It's not so likely because, you know, some organizations take a little longer to respond, and maybe you have to go through board meetings and the board doesn't meet every week or every month, you know. So I'll give this a year for full implementation and full results, but you will definitely begin to see results within the first 90 days. So you've identified the companies you want to go after. Now it's time for the next step. The next step is connecting and sending them intro. You know, 100 companies, you can research each of the CEOs and each of the heads of HR, heads of CSR, that's corporate social responsibility. And you want to be able to leverage LinkedIn for that. And you want to just be creative when you find out who's in charge, or sometimes if you don't know, find an employee who's a middle manager, you know, look for titles like director or associate manager or, you know, manager or a chief, you know, or head of. Those kinds of job titles are people who may not be at the very top, but they're certainly close to the top enough to give you information. And just ask them, hey, I'm a nonprofit and I have a potential partnership, a mutually beneficial partnership I want to talk to your organization about. Who's the best person to talk to as far as helping your organization, you know, expand? And sometimes it's the marketing, the head of marketing. You know, if you position yourself as a partner in marketing, hey, then reach out to the marketing guys, because sometimes they are the best ones to reach out to. They will definitely, and if they're not the ones, then they'll tell you who the person is that you need to connect with. All right. The key is, don't see yourself as a salesperson or you know, an ordinary nonprofit founder looking to beg for money. No, you want to see yourself as somebody with value for these organizations. And I'll talk more about this in a separate training. All right. But right now, focus on the fact that you're reaching out and you introducing yourself and your organization, and you're asking for volunteers. So you want to have an activity that is lined up that this potential partner can volunteer with. This is very important, and I will stress on it again. When you get a business, a company to send you volunteers, they're sold. So your first request of them should never be money, but let them get some of their employees to volunteer with you. By doing that, you now have them believing in what you do. They've seen what you do. They're part of it. They believe in it, and they are your advocates on the inside. Okay. And the document explains a little further in terms of how you can do this. I'll have a separate training on this. So I'm not going to spend, this is just an overview. Once you've made that request and you've got your volunteering activity in place, it's time for implementing, so if it's a weekend activity, whatever it is, you get your volunteers. During the volunteer, you want to connect, you want to know them. You're going to have lunch maybe, or you're going to have Kool-Aid or something. Once you're doing that, get to know the organization and what some of the needs they have. All right. In the training, in another training, I'll talk about corporate needs and how you can position yourself to meet one or more of those needs. Every corporation really has 6 major needs. And if you can position your nonprofit to help that corporation meet one or more of those needs, you'll definitely have a partnership. All right. But as far as this goes, yeah, some things you could do, like publishing a book, a coffee table book with pictures of your volunteering together, cause marketing campaigns where, for every unit of whatever the company sells, a portion, goes to your nonprofit. And so you're marketing for them. You could do email outreach if your nonprofit has been around and you've got, other volunteers, or you've got beneficiaries, or you've got supporters, email addresses. You could feature them in one of your newsletters. And if you don't do this already, you definitely want to start building an email list. And so there are just so many ways you could benefit a company. And if you don't know how businesses and corporations work, or you don't really you're not coming up with ideas, these are the areas where I could support you by identifying the best way you could bring value to that company. Because you want to position yourself. It's very important that you position yourself as bringing value as opposed to just asking for money. All right. And that's what is really key. Once you've done that, and that volunteering time is over, and you've done your brainstorming, you have some ideas, you want to go in after the volunteering time, you want to go in the following week or two later to say thank you. And during that thank you visit, you discuss the idea of a long-term partnership. You propose a partnership, and there's a way that you can structure it, because by this time you already know how best you can serve the business and what value you can bring to them, and you lead with that value in that proposal. And if it's discussed right, two things will happen. You're going to get a gentleman's agreement right there and then, and it's going to be like, hey, send us a proposal. Or they'll say, okay, you're going to get that person liking it and needing to refer it to board of directors. Either way, or you're going to get, the third thing is, it's good, but we're maybe not ready for it yet for whatever reason. That's also fine. All right. But you want to do the discussion before anything else. All right. So you want to do the discussion before anything else. Once you've done the discussion and you have an understanding, then you are able to move forward with submitting a proposal. Okay. And then when that proposal is sent, all that's left is leveraging that relationship. Okay. And making sure that you have a smooth relationship. One of the things you want to do is to continually engage the employees. Employee engagement is very important to companies and businesses. And one way to do that is by working with nonprofits. And if you have employees engaged, you're helping that company significantly. All right. So this is a bird's eye view of the corporate partnership framework. If you've got questions, send them to me. It's looking like I'm going to create a group just for this so that we are able to discuss this further. But for now, you can send me a message, DM me, connect with me on LinkedIn, or send me a message. Go to my website, danmaxwelljr.com, and shoot me a line. Hit contact and shoot me a line. All right. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing you soon.